Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you joining me here this evening. Well, there's Susan from New Horizons. Hey, I want to start off this evening with, I guess, a boo-boo on my part. As a salesperson, it's always important to get back to your customers. And I'll tell you, things have been crazy busy. And Monday, I failed to get back to a customer. And of course, Tuesday on the way into work, received a text message, and the individual was not very pleased. Now, again, that was my bad for not getting back to the customer. And in these times, it is just crazy. And I'll tell you, I'm going to be glad when we get back to normal. Supposed to be working, 2 or 3 days a week. And ever since I've gotten back doing the 2 or 3 days a week, I'm actually working 7 days a week, trying to keep up with the load that we have. But it was my bad. I let one slip through the cracks and lost the possibility of a sale. So those things do happen, and it's frustrating from a salesperson's position as well as for the customers. And the customer's right. I didn't do my job. I didn't get back to them, so I lost that opportunity. So anyway, and it doesn't matter whether I don't care whether they were looking for a pop-up travel trailer, fifth wheel motorhome. That was still an opportunity that I lost and let slip through the cracks. So let me see, before I get started here, let me just kind of give a shout out to, I see we got a pretty good crowd here this evening. See Steve from up there in Central New York, glad you're joining us here. Daydream about nice things, thank you for joining. Papa Drew, good to see you here this evening. So now, here's the thing for tonight, because I've been so dang busy, I was supposed to try to get a thumbnail up earlier in the week, and I've been just too dang busy trying to get things done and didn't have time. So I decided to go with Ask the RV Professional just to see if there's questions out there, because I know the last time I did this a few weeks ago, there were a lot of good questions out there, and I thought I would come on and ask those questions. So are there any burning questions that you may have? And as you notice, I'm wearing my fedora tonight. Y'all been seeing just my head of hair that I have, but I thought I'd wear my fedora this evening and kind of just show that off. This is something I wore when I'm at work, and just bringing it here. So what do I think about DRV Full House? I'll tell you, so he's talking about the mobile suites, fifth wheels, and I'll tell you, they're in pretty impressive. They're an impressive unit, and they're hard to find out there. They're very heavy. Of course, I know you said you have a big toter truck, so I don't think that's going to be a problem for you whatsoever. But yeah, they're excellent. I'll tell you, it's like anything else. When somebody's asking, what they should buy when they're on my lot, I always ask the one important question first of all is, what's your budget? Because if we're sitting there, for instance, looking at a Class A gas, and somebody asks me, well, should I buy a diesel pusher? Well, there's a lot of variables with that. How many miles you be driving? Is it within your budget? Is it outside your budget? You can still get all the same quote bells and whistles. Well, I say all the bells, meaning heating, air conditioning, TV, all that stuff in a gas, just like you're going to get in a diesel. The only difference is when you step up, obviously, it's going to be a nicer paint job. It's going to be a nicer ride versus the diesel versus gas. So a lot of different variables there. So listen, if it fits in your budget, I would highly recommend that you go with that. That's a great unit. So let me see if there's somebody else that has a question here this evening. Morning all. I guess hitch up and tow. I'm seeing your morning. It's a morning already. I'm thinking you're probably over in England, what I would think, or over that way, maybe Germany. So are RV camping resort timeshares worth it? And I guess that would come down to the individual. I know a lot of people, like them. There's different ones that are out there, and it really comes down to what fits in your particular wants and needs. Be careful, though, of what they're charging. I did have a customer of mine that was talking about joining one. I think it was 1,000 Trails, and I forget what number they hit him at. And they were like, no, we can't do that. And so, they kept coming down, and they finally said no. They ended up getting a call back. And I forget, they didn't get the full-blown 1,000 Trails thing, but they still were able to get different things. to be able to camp at those 1,000 trails, but just not, I guess, not the same priority for, I mean, crazy, crazy cheap. So be careful when it's like a timeshare, right? Be careful what you're paying for it, and be careful of the underlying rules. I know I had a neighbor of mine that joined one, and they're supposed to be there for 2 weeks. Well, because he was so close to home, he ended up just leaving his camper and going home. They went ahead and told him, you can't do that. When you're there for 2 weeks, you're there for 2 weeks. He couldn't even leave his camper. Well, I mean, he could leave for the day and stuff, but he was supposed to be there, which I thought that was years ago. I don't know if that's changed. So hopefully that answers your question. Just do your homework, talk to people, and I'm sure on a lot of the Facebook pages out there, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can give you lots of additional information. And understand that I think people are more willing to talk bad about things than they are good. So take things with a grain of salt. Let me see who else is in the house here. Let's see, Lucky Dog Productions moderator. Good evening. Travels with Delaney. Glad you're joining me here this evening. Todd Smith, appreciate it. Happy Place Camping. Like I say, I appreciate all you guys joining me here this evening. And let's see, and if I missed something, I'll come back to it here. But I have somebody asking, what is a good hitch and what's required to install? Now, when people talk hitches, are you talking about a hitch receiver that goes on the vehicle, or are we talking about a fifth wheel hitch, or are we talking about, hitch like weight distribution style hitches for travel trailers? If you get back to me on that, Todd, I'll try and answer that question for you. And then let me see here. And by the way, and I have somebody texting me because they can't message me on YouTube for whatever reason. And see, like I said, no, this individual saying he would not recommend RV timeshare. However, again, do your homework on those. I think everybody has their own thing of whether or not it's going to be good for you or not. So let me see. Papa Drew has, how are the RV sales right now? And is now with rates low a good time to buy? Let me tell you about RV sales, and because I had a customer in today, and they're looking at one of the hotter selling units, and fortunately we have a couple of them on a lot. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in the RV industry because of what has gone on. We are super busy. As I mentioned, I'm supposed to work 3 days a week. I'm working 7 days a week just to try to keep up with the demand that I have from customers. With that said, I'm one of 20 sales guys at our location, and we are busy as a whole. And what that's going to create, because the manufacturer plants have been closed down, that's going to create a backlog as far as order units. It's going to be delayed. Things that we were expecting this month, we're not going to see till next month or maybe even further out. So that's going to be the problem. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to have shortages of the fast selling units. And so if you're looking and somebody has something that you like, you might want to consider jumping on it. Now, I don't know that rates have been affected very much. I guess it all depends on your credit score. There's a number of variables when it's dealing with that. So, but right now they're plentiful on our lot, but there's times, I had 2 people today looking for a specific type unit, and I don't have any of those, and I probably won't have it for a month and a half, and they're looking to do something by like next weekend. So there's going to be a shortage of RVs out there, and just keep that in mind if you're in the market for one. Now let's see, what did Todd get back? Weight distribution and sway control. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I covered this last week, was the weight distribution and sway control. Keep another thing in mind with the weight distribution and sway control. It is highly recommended that you have a dealer set that up, because there's certain measurements you have to meet. And if you're not mechanically inclined or have the know-how with that, you can install it incorrectly. And I'm talking about it doesn't matter whether you're doing the Pro Pride, the Hensley, equalizer hitch, and the equalizer is probably going to be a little easier than it would be with the Restool cam and or like the Pro Pride. So highly recommend that you have the dealer set that up. I mean, you're looking at a very small price to pay to have something professionally installed. So that would be my recommendation. I'd recommend personally, if you can afford the Pro Pride and the truck that you're towing with can sustain the additional weight because they weigh over 200 pounds, go with the Pro Pride. But you're looking at spending $3,000 or so or more to have that purchased and installed. Now, what we sell and our number one seller is the Reese with the dual cam. That is a phenomenal unit. If your unit is small enough, you could go with the Blue Ox equalizer. That's another one that you could actually use. It's a little less expensive. In our opinion, it's not quite as effective as the Reese dual cam. Hopefully that answers your question. So let's see what else we have here. Trying to keep an eye on these questions. Let's see what we've got here. So I see everybody's chatting in between each other. That's a good thing. Glad to hear that as well. And I'll tell you, what is everybody seeing out there? I mean, I'll tell you, things are opening up around here. Last Friday, the PA campgrounds opened up except for state and national parks. Same thing in Maryland now. Maryland this week, the campgrounds are opening up except for the state parks. Don't quite understand that. You know, we can go to a Walmart, we can't go to a state park. That just doesn't make much sense. But anyway, I guess I'm not in charge, so not going to happen. So anyway, so we have Ron Abel. He just bought a 31-foot Transcend up north, 19-mile-an-hour wind, towed like a dream with weight distribution hitch. And I'll tell you, they do. If you have the proper system and it's set up properly, totally a different setup. I did have a gentleman that he traded in a 33-foot travel trailer. He had it set up with the round bar, so they round Reese weight distribution bars, and he put a friction sway on it. And friction sway is not for a trailer over 24 foot or with one with a tongue weight over 350 pounds. He was a little leery because the fact the one he was traded on was a 36 foot. He came all the way from Ohio. However, he was pleased. When he got home, he called me that night. Now, he drove 10 hours, 5 hours to us, 5 hours back, so it was a long day. He called me and told me how much better that Reese weight distribution with the dual cam sway was than what he previously had. So hopefully that helps you a little bit there. Tell you, so I mean, and I tell you, things are crazy. I'm getting calls from. I've had 3 calls from people out of the state of Maryland. I'm talking about like Colorado, Utah, Alabama. I'm getting emails every day or calls every day from somebody far away. They're reaching out to me because of the YouTube channel, and I think it's great. And I'll tell you, when it's right, I had a gentleman ask me today. I'm waiting to talk to him. Hopefully tonight I'm going to have a chance to talk to him. He's asking me whether he ought to buy local or whether he ought to buy from me. And I always tell people, and I have people that drive to me, not that we're less expensive, but because they like working with somebody that knows what they're talking about. And they've run into issues where I guess the individuals are not very helpful at the local dealers, and they don't feel confident that they're going to be treated properly. And so from that standpoint, I recommend if you want to come up and deal with us, you're going to be taken care of. And just because you're out of state doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to call me if you forget how things work. I just had a couple pick up Monday. They came all the way up from Tennessee, and then they went ahead and spent a couple of days going back. They're home today, but each day they called me forgetting how to do something, and I was able to just walk them through it. Very simple. I mean, I do this stuff on a daily basis, so I understand what you have as far as systems. And that's one of the differences with dealing with Beckley's and myself is the fact that if in fact we earn your business, the day you come in to pick up your unit, I'm the one that's actually showing you how to work your unit. I'm not pawning you off on somebody in service. And that's why I kind of get bogged down. Not only do I have to do all the paperwork, thank goodness I don't have to do the finance part of it, but I do all the paperwork, and then I've got to do the walkthroughs as well. So a lot that goes into this, and that keeps you kind of busy. I have 3 people picking up tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day, and that's all between 9 and 5. So it gets quite to be a crazy day. So let's see if we have another question here, Barney. Was there another question here? Well, that's correct. There, Happy Place Diaries was agreeing with me as far as there. So let's see, they are opening up state parks in California now. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll tell you what. You know, it was sad to see people that were I was seeing posts on Facebook and of course YouTube of people that were out in national parks too. And they're camping and they're hundreds, if not miles away from people, and yet they were closing down the national parks. Go ahead and have them go and get around, highly more dense populated areas. So it's good to see that they're opening everything back up here. So, any other questions while I am here this evening? I do, like I say, I do appreciate you watching. Um, Travel. Okay, how is? Oh, I appreciate that, Patrick. So Travels with Delaney is asking about the Make-A-Wish Fund, and I tell you that's coming along well. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I ran out of time, and I'm not sure if I have the link down below. If not, I will put it down a little bit later. Let me give you an idea. I'm actually have a family I'm working with to try to get a Make-A-Wish. So it's a Make-A-Wish family. Found out today the boy's 12 years old. He's on his last month of chemo for cancer. The family, they have 8 children. And so what happened was, and the reason why they're going with a camper is because of the fact that the boy's wish was to go on a Disney cruise. And unfortunately, because of the situation, Disney cruise was canceled. And the mother was telling me today that they were devastated, or the son was devastated. However, then Make-A-Wish came back, or somehow something came up about camping, because he does like to get out and fish and do all these other things. So we are trying to put them into a camper. Now, unfortunately, because of the size of the family, the size of the camper is a little bit over budget for what Make-A-Wish typically spends. And so that is the reason why I had said to the individual that I was dealing with Make-A-Wish that using the means that I have through YouTube and so forth, I would reach out to people and see if anybody was willing to donate to help offset these costs for this family. I'm hoping that tomorrow we're going to be able to settle on which camper they're settling on, and hopefully next week get them into their camper. But what I'm doing is I opened up a PayPal account, and 100% of what is being donated is going to be going to this family for this camper. So, and Beckley's is doing a lot. I mean, they've reduced the camper, where they're really not making any money. If they're not making any money at all. On top of that, with our parts store, we're kicking in a lot of the essentials that they need to actually go camping. So we try to make it a turnkey and make it as easy for the family as possible. So I appreciate you asking about that, Patrick. So Papa Drew donated a car. Yes, I'll tell you that, they're quite the organization. I've had 4 families. This will be my 4th family with Make-A-Wish that has gotten a camper. The other 3 have been pop-ups, and those are quite easy to keep underneath the budget that Make-A-Wish sets. But a lot of times, I'm running into issues with the tow vehicle that the Make-A-Wish family has. And fortunately, with this family, the tow vehicle is not an issue, which was awesome. So, and I see Randy's here. Well, you know what? You're late to the party, but late is always better than not at all. To appreciate you joining me. So, and like I say, for those of you that are joining here, I mean, we have a lot of channels on here that do put out some good content. I'm a little different than what they do. They actually are out there camping in their unit. So, check them out. And if they have something that's more up your alley, as far as from a camper, you might want to lock onto their page and listen to what they have to say. A lot of these people, they know a lot. As I always say, I know enough to be dangerous, and always learning, because it's always a learning process. So, but I do appreciate you watching. And by the way, if there's something in particular some topic you'd like me to cover in the future, by all means, reach out to me. Be more than happy to. Also, I've been hanging out on a few other people's shows, and do check that out. as well. I'll put some links for those shows as well down below some of my videos out there, so that way there, or my other YouTube lives. So for those of you that want to check out those other pages and see what they're doing, I tell you, there's a lot of content on YouTube. You name it, you'll find it. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of great people out there. In this family, it's a family that camps together and a family that sticks together. So I do appreciate you all joining me here this evening. Does anybody else have a question before we get off here this evening? I know there's kind of a little delay here. So let me ask the question, because you all have seen me without my hat, but this is my fedora. This is what I wear when I'm on the job. Do you like the hat, or would you rather me not go with the hat? What are we thinking here? Good evening, Jerry Holly. Glad you made it here, sir. Glad you made it. See, now I had Scott Sabasic is calling me on the phone here, and I think he's trying to crash my party. Let's see what he has to say here. Hold on one second here. Yeah, hey, Scott, you're live here on YouTube. What can we do for you?
I just want to say, if you need anything, meaning questions about your camper.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dang it, the call dropped. He was going to say, if you need any questions answered about your camper, be sure you reach out to the Air Force guy. I wish the heck I would have been able to get him to stay on there, but unfortunately, cell service, you never know about cell service. So, but hey, listen, I appreciate everybody watching. You know, I'll tell you, the hat, let me give you the backstory of the hat. We went on vacation in July. We went down to the, where did we go, Maureen? Yeah, there's my wife's down there. But we went, where did we go, Mar? Went down to the Dominican Republic. And my hair, even through my hair, my head got burned. And so I went and bought a fedora. And when I came back, I just started wearing it. And then, of course, I've got the different pins on it, RV related and so forth. I think Scott's trying to call back and go ahead and say, Scott, I finished your sentence for you. They really appreciated it. Everybody gave you a thumbs up. And they did say that if they have any questions about truck campers, they will reach out to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Alicia's coming online right now.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that.
We would like to thank you for everything you've done for us. I mean, meaning I've had multiple questions in the past couple of weeks. I've done this for 30 years, but you are the man.
See there, look at that. Well, I appreciate
when people question, you know, your knowledge, it's BS. It's BS. So hopefully, I'll be back soon. I can jump online with you guys.
Good deal. And good night there, Boxman D. Appreciate you coming by and everybody. So thank you, Scott, and I'll catch up with you later, sir. See you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Bye. So anyway, so I do appreciate everybody coming in here this evening, and I'm going to be back at you again next week. Like I say, if there's a topic you'd like me to cover, we try to keep it short and sweet, but make sure that it's educational. So thanks again, and I'll be back at you again next Thursday, 7 o'clock. Take care.